Playoff starts tomorrow. Alabama will take on Oklahoma. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech all earn first-round byes, with the Hoosiers and Buckeyes both holding the best chance to reach the title game at over 40%, according to our analytics. Which teams do we think will face off in the national championship game? Tomorrow, round one starts, as I pointed out. So here we go. Not a chance to see anyone yet in the CFP. Who you got in the CFP championship game? You want to go first?
I'm going with the top two teams in the nation. I think it's going to be Indiana versus Ohio State. I truly believe that Ohio State is the best team in the nation, even though Indiana beat them in the Big Ten championship game. The offensive line didn't play well that day. They didn't protect their quarterback, obviously, and it cost them. I think in a rematch, Ohio State gets the better of Indiana. That's number one. I think that I look at Georgia. I think Georgia's incredibly formidable. They're number three. They are a team to beat. Here's my problem, RC. I think that Georgia, because they're three, would have to face Ohio State. Okay, and I think Ohio State. If Indiana was to face Georgia, I think Georgia would beat Indiana, but I don't think they'll beat Ohio State. So because of that, I think Ohio State gets through Georgia if it gets to that point, and I think they meet Indiana for the national championship, and I think in a rematch, Ohio State gets the better of Indiana. It'll be a nail-biter. It won't be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, but I would go Ohio State over Indiana.
So I didn't want to go because Shay's right next to me. I would have liked it if she was sitting over there.
You scared of her?
Yeah, I'm a little scared. She's just real IU, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to Ohio State, Oregon. Okay. And I know what everybody's going to say, right? They're going to say that. Too. They're going to say Indiana and Fernando Mendoza went in there and stumped them, and they did. I love Dan Lanning. I think Moore has an opportunity. You talk about quarterbacks with opportunities to play themselves up in the draft. I think he's already a first-round draft pick, but he has an opportunity to show even more and move himself into the top 5. Indiana is so well coached.
Yeah, they are.
And there's no way you've watched Indiana this year and seen Fernando Mendoza, the human, and not falling in love with the compassion, with the love, with the way that he looks at life.
And the player of the year.
And the fact that he made 2 of the biggest throws all season, which is why he wins the Heisman, in my opinion. I think that it's Oregon's time. Think about last year going into the quarterfinals when Ohio State and Oregon met up. Oregon was the team to beat. They were undefeated. They were the number 1 overall seed. And they lay an egg. I feel like that motivation, that understanding of what this stage is, helps this team get to the championship. And I just think Ohio State is the most.
There we go.
No, I'm joking. I agree with Dante Moore. I think he can play himself top 10 pick if he comes out. I think he's the best pure passer of the football. I unfortunately agree with Stephen A. I think Indiana, Ohio State. I do think it's interesting. Ohio State fans got super mad at me because I was like, Ohio State ain't tested. They're the least tested number 1 team in the history of college football type stuff. And listen, in that Big Ten championship game, they go into halftime up, and they don't score again.
Yeah.
Now, 4th down stop, missed field goal, I understand that, but it'll be interesting to see how that team responds and rebounds after that second half egg. But I am impressed with Julian Sam. Yeah. I think they have the best player in college football in Jeremiah Smith. The defense is a top 2, top 3 defense in college football, and that game comes down to a kick. So there's no question that those teams are very much so on the even playing field. How does Indiana handle success? I think is a huge question mark. Do I think they have the right leader in Kurt Cignetti to do it? Yes. But these are 18 to 22-year-old young men. They've never experienced this before. They've never experienced this level of success, this level of expectation, this level of we've accomplished something. How did those young men handle it? But I do think if they're capable of doing that, those are the 2 best teams. The Oregon game, the only thing I get concerned about with Oregon, surprisingly, because I love Dan Lanning as well, I'm a massive fan, is they just didn't look like they belonged at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I agree. It was one of those games that was actually shocking.
Yeah,
how much more physical Indiana.
Score wasn't as close as it was.
I agree with all that. I just as we've gone down the stretch and the way that they've rebounded from that, the way that they played, and the explosiveness that they could produce offensively, that was something that I just. As the season went on, I got more confidence in them. And also, too, being in the stadiums for all of Notre Dame's games has made me think that there's going to be a team from week 1 that plays, because Ohio State and Notre Dame played in week 1 last year, that one of those teams gets hot, partly because of winning that first game and finds its way to the championship.
You know what's interesting with the SEC, to your question, Shay, is like each SEC team has a relatively glaring flaw.
Yeah.
Alabama's offense is
not the case with the Big Ten.
Right. Oklahoma's defense is ridiculous. A&M's defense can't tackle right now, but Oklahoma's offense is struggling. A&M's got a really good offense, but their defense can't tackle right now. Georgia has had just some hang-on for dear life comebacks. Like, there's some flaws in the SEC that's not in the Big Ten.
And in fairness, in the interest of full disclosure, I interviewed Ryan Day last week on my show, and it was like, he was like, you know, our offensive line, you know, he didn't point out anybody or whatever. He said, but we didn't have our best game. We've been talking about that. You know what I'm saying? That, in other words, that is not a mistake.
In his experience.
That is not a mistake you can expect to see again. And I think when you look at Ohio State and how talented they are, you know, their program, they're the reigning defending national champions. You walk into that Big Ten, and you know what? You missed a field goal. You know what I'm saying? You could have easily tied the game. Could have easily went to
young running back
to win the game.
And
they got completely thrown off guard because I think they expected to be the more physical team against Indiana. And that is not what happened, particularly that offensive line. They didn't protect Sayin, and I think that they make a mess
I will say this. Ryan Day was out, and that staff was out coached.
There you go.
Against Indiana. The level of anticipation.
He felt they were too.
The level of anticipation you
coaching,
saw
you know?
defensively from Indiana with an understanding of splits, of formations, of tips, of tendencies. Cignetti is coaching at a different level than most of these coaches in Division I Power 4 football.
Can I ask this quick question real quick? I'm sorry. We talked about Kalen DeBoer in Michigan and all of that other stuff. Do we bring up Cignetti? What's the I can't imagine he would even think
He
about
ain't
leaving
going
the
anywhere.
He's got more
Don't
money.
even bring it
Just
up.
asking.
He got more money.
I'm just asking.
All right, listen.
Because everybody going to want him.
I think it's Indiana and Georgia in the
It'd
CFP
be hard to
Championship
say
game.
no to
I'm
Alabama.
going to go CFP and Georgia. I will bring up the SEC team. I have a question, though. We're going to be in Miami for the championship game. It's Monday. First Take will be on the road. If Indiana's in the championship game, I'm supposed to be back here in New York for work on Tuesday.
No.
Are we we'll do the show from Miami on Tuesday?
No. We do the show from
Miami.
Here's what I was saying. Here's what I was saying.
backyard.
Here's what I was saying.
Okay. Oh, got it. From
I
the
don't
backyard.
know where the show's going to be, but considering it's your alma mater and it's the national championship game, if you decided to go celebrate with the Hoosiers the next day, that's totally understandable.
And when UConn win the men and women's national titles in basketball this year,
That's not going to happen both. One of you may win, but not both.
it's happened both before.
No, it's not going to happen this time. Not this year.
Why aren't you?
Oh, they're just rolling the break. Okay, we got an NFC West battle tonight as the Seahawks host the Rams with massive playoff implications. Who do we have winning this one? We will tell you after this break.
We're going to win it, both boys.